This is Danny Flexon here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by former world title challenger, European champion, now a trainer, Matthew Hatton, old friend of mine as well. Really good to see you, mate. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you, mate. Good to speak to you again, Danny. It's been a while. Looking well, pal.
Thanks very much. So are you. You're obviously keeping you young, being in the gym with all these hungry fighters.
Yeah, I mean, it's been tough, hasn't it, over the last couple of years with the COVID, and I really enjoy what I do. I've got my own gym now. I've got lots of different things going at the gym, lots of different things in going. But my passion is still professional boxing, and training the fighters is still what excites me. I'm still getting my kicks out of boxing, mate.
And you got your nephew, Campbell, obviously taking his next step as a pro this weekend at Fight Camp. How different is it, or maybe it isn't at all, training your nephew as opposed to just a fighter that comes into the gym off the street, basically?
Yeah, I mean, it was different because me and Campbell's always been very close, even, since he was a kid, since he was a nipper. So, yeah, it was a little bit different. And when he made his professional debut, it was getting a little bit emotional, to be fair. I was very proud of him, how he was handling himself. And it's a big, big night for any fighter. I remember my pro debut. And again, during the day, I just went for a coffee and I just thought, you know what, I've got to get my trainer's head on now. I've got to take the emotions out of it, concentrate on the fight and the job ahead. And that's what I did. And that's what I do there. Again, I do enjoy training Campbell. He's a real character. He's fun to have around the gym, and he's a good fighter. But again, on the day of the fight, I've just got to separate, the fact that I'm his uncle and get my coach's hat on.
And when he gets his hand raised, obviously as a pro, it's only happened a couple of times, but he had a number of amateur fights as well. Does it kind of mean more to you, or not more, but does it feel different than when you're training another fighter in the corner?
Yeah, a little bit. I've got to be honest. His family into here. I'd be lying, I suppose the thing to say, no, it doesn't feel different. I'm very close to all the fighters that I train. Every fighter that I train, I get very close to him. I spend a lot of time, put a lot of effort into him. And I see them all as friends. For the amount of time and that you have to spend with a fighter, if you didn't like him as a person and you didn't get on with them, it wouldn't matter how good they was. You've got to spend a lot of time with fighters, and I get very close to my fighters, and it means a hell of a lot to me when they win or lose. I take defeat really, really bad. It's not happened that often, touch wood, but no, I get really emotional involved. But obviously with Campbell being family as well, it is a little bit different.
How do you feel about him kind of taking his formative steps as a pro under the spotlight? Obviously, he's on undercards, but he's on undercards of big shows, Fight Camp being the latest one. That's got to be a tough thing for him.
It is tough, and, it's always a double-edged sword, what I had to put up with throughout my career. He's getting on these big bills, Danny. He's getting these great opportunities. He's fighting regular, and he's one of the lucky ones. Like you say, it's difficult under the spotlight. I remember I always knew it'd be big when Campbell turned professional, but I remember being over in Gibraltar and the amount of media obligations he had and the things he had to do surprised me. But again, it's difficult for him. It is a double-edged sword. But in reality, Danny, if he's going to be the fighter that we want him to be, we want him to push on. We want him to aim for the stars. This is something that he's just got to get used to, and better to get used to it early on. In there with opposition, which is expected to be. Let's be honest.
Do you think it's helpful to him, obviously not just you being an excellent trainer, but having that experience of, in your career, I'm sure you won't mind me saying this, a lot of people comparing you to your brother, going through you to get to your brother, I'm sure has happened on occasions as well. And he's got a bit of that now as well. People constantly talking about his dad when it's his interview time and things like that. Do you think it helps you having experienced that because you can talk to him about it and you've been through it?
Without a shadow of a doubt, Danny, me and Campbell are very close. We speak a lot. And, early on in my career, I was getting criticised. Like you touched on there, I was fighting in the spotlight. I had very limited amateur experience like Campbell. I was under the spotlight and I struggled. And it'd taken me quite a few years before I could sort of break myself free. I'd lost fights, and then something happened one day where I just thought, you know what? no one's going to say anything worse than what they've said to me already. I prepare well, I train hard, I enjoy my boxing, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. I'm just going to work hard, prepare myself the best I possibly can, and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to enjoy my boxing, and what will be, will be. And when I took that approach and that attitude, my career just took off, Danny. It really did, you know, a big significant improvement in my performances. And that was all down to my mindset. So even though it's difficult, that's the mindset I'm trying to drill into Campbell from a from the start, you know. Forget the TV cameras, forget what people are saying, concentrate on what you're doing, prepare yourself well, go in there and enjoy your boxing.
And as a fighter, kind of taking the emotion out of it, as you said earlier, what are his kind of key attributes or assets at the moment? What do you really like about him?
He's got a great work ethic, Danny Campbell. He really has. And, you know, we've seen in little patches what he can do in his first couple of fights. But in reality, we're not going to really see what Campbell can do. We're going to see more what he can do over the next couple of years. But Campbell is a really good fighter, trust me. If he wasn't a good fighter, myself and his dad who manages him, we wouldn't sort of like be getting behind him. But we know he can do it. He's a good fighter. He's an aggressive fighter. He's very fit. He's got a work ethic. He's got a lot of heart, Campbell. Even in his amateur fights, when sometimes he was losing, he was fighting kids a lot more experienced. But I could see not just talent in the ring, but characteristics that he was showing that I knew he would stand him in good stead as a professional. So Campbell's an attacking, attractive fighter to watch. He's got loads of heart. He's a good body puncher. He's got a good engine. And we're going to see this over the next 18 months, couple of years.
Top of the bill on Saturday night is Conor Benn. Does it kind of encourage you with Campbell's development, what Matchroom and Eddie have done with Conor? Because he's got the big name. He's been on a lot of like high profile shows, but he's been matched very well and he hasn't been rushed.
Yeah, it's a good point, Danny. He's been brought along perfectly, hasn't he? He's been brought along, like say, the matchmaking has been perfect. And I've always rated Conor, really. I took one of my lads to spar with him. I was chatting about it to him last time I seen him, actually. Even when people was looking at his performances early on in his career, and let's be honest, it wasn't looking great. But what I noticed in him, even from that day I seen him spar, is that hunger for success. And you can't put that into people. And yeah, he's getting nice things now. He doesn't need to box, but he's very, very hungry for it. You know, different things motivate different people. And I knew Conor would come good. I said that to him. And, you know, I always said it to anyone who would listen to me, come good, because he's got that hunger. He's got a great work ethic. His trainer's done a fantastic job with him. And as a former fighter, I can spot that hunger in fighters. And that's something Campbell's got as well. But Matchroom have done perfect for Conor. And I expect the same sort of thing to come through and be evident over the next few years with Campbell.
How did you feel when the news broke that Matchroom in the UK would be switching from Sky Sports to DAZN? Because you were very successful on Sky Sports. Your brother was, a lot of people say, built by Sky Sports. Obviously, I would say it was more 50-50, but you get the point. Was there a concern on your part that Campbell's not going to have that backing of the massive marketing channels that Sky have got and all that kind of stuff?
Like you say, I think both me and Ricky spoke about this and we knew it was on the cards, possibly moving to DAZN. And it was difficult because, like you say, Sky did such a great job building Ricky and they've got such a big outreach, haven't they? And, you know, from a personal point of view, Adam Smith, good friend of mine, Adam Smith, you know, he's been around the family. He was at my mum's 50th birthday party. So he was like a friend of the family, Adam. So it was sad to see, but times move on. I was slightly disappointed, but Matchroom are the biggest and the best promoters out there, and DAZN undoubtedly is going to be a success. So, no, I suppose times are changing, and they're Campbell's promoters. That's the route they're going, and, you know, it's we'll just see how it goes.
You've got a small but very talented stable of fighters. Are you quite happy with that setup at the moment, or are you looking to, you know, grow it a bit bigger?
Yeah, I'm always looking to add to it, Danny. But, you know, I've had my day in the sun as a fighter. You know, that's not what I'm in it for. You know, I've gathered a lot of knowledge over the years. You know, 52 professional fights, very fortunate, boxed all over the world. I always had one eye on training, something that's always interested me. So any trainer that I come into contact with, I was always picking their brains. And, you know, coaching has been frustrating on the whole for me, because you're working with fighters, especially in the early days, with limited ability, limited dedication, determination, not applying themselves properly. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, mate, I've wasted hours over the years, hours with fighters that didn't really deserve it. You know, I wanted it more than them. And, you know, I've learned my mistakes. And as soon as I spot a lack of determination, a lack of dedication, you know, I show them the door now. So I'm quite choosy who I work with. You know, I'm busy. I've got my own family. I've got my own kids. And if they're not giving 100%, then I'm certainly not doing the same. So it can be a frustrating job as a trainer. But like you say, I've got 3 fighters now, all good fighters. And again, we'll just see how it goes, really. But I'm not wasting time on kids that don't deserve it anymore.
Right and all. And you mentioned your kids there. Does Jack box?
He's just got into it. I mean, he's always been football mad, Jack. But in lockdown, I was homeschooling both the kids. Jesus Christ, mate. I'm glad there wasn't a hidden camera there. Oh,
I'm glad you'd already lost your hair.
Oh, dear me. So we just started doing a bit of boxing with him. I've always been a believer in the positive sides of boxing, how it can help kids with the confidence. Jack was well into his football, so he's doing no harm with his fitness. But he just really got into it. And I suppose, like me, with my brother, seeing how well Ricky was doing, Jack's obviously watching what Campbell's doing now, making a name for himself. And he thinks, oh, I fancy some of that myself. So he's really enjoying his boxing at the minute. And we're looking at him possibly having a contest before the end of the year. So, mate, on we go. It's like a conveyor belt.
That's good stuff. You mentioned earlier about how you would always pick trainers' brains because you had half an eye on going into it yourself. Just tell us some of the major influences you've had in terms of trainers. Obviously, Billy Graham will undoubtedly be one, but who else as well?
Yeah, Billy Graham. I had 2 spells with Lee Beard. Again, Bob Shannon did great things for me. And all the times I was in the States, I did bits of work with Floyd Mayweather Sr., brother Nazim Richardson. Over here, Oliver Harrison. I spent a bit of time in Gallagher's gym. So I've been around all the gyms and picked little bits from different trainers. Some things you think you like, some things you don't like. So, you know, I've been in and around the gyms and fought at the top level. So, no, I've learned a lot over the years, and all those guys, you know, pick little bits from all of them, really. And very lucky, Danny.
It may be hard to pick out just one, but what's the best piece of advice you've had from any trainer?
It's a good question, that, mate. You put me on the spot there.
Cheers, mate. Still got it.
Yeah, best bit of advice. There isn't, mate. I know. Yeah, there's nothing really coming to my head. Like you say, all them guys were great trainers, very experienced, and I've learned a lot from all of them over the years. There's not one thing that really sticks out, but again, the different training methods that have been used over the years. Some things I use, some things I don't. I've got the bar bag going, which was obviously a Billy Graham thing. Yeah. The body belt, which Bob Shannon used as well. We always used to finish on a Friday in Bob's gym with a big circuit just to finish the week. We do the different ones. So I've pinched little bits over, and I've got my own take on things, my own spin on things. So it works quite well.
This one might be a bit easier to answer, although not as happy a subject. But what's the biggest mistake you feel you made in your own career?
The biggest mistake I made in my career, I would say early on, and it's going to be a crazy thing to say because Ricky had such a great career, and you know there was only one of my brother. But when I was starting out, I used to look up to my brother, and I used to sort of like, I went into the boxing gym, I followed him into the boxing gym. We started kickboxing originally, I followed him into that, and when he turned professional, and when I first turned professional, I was watching how he was going on in between fights, you know, going out and, you know, putting on weight and in the pub most, and I thought, this must be the way to do it. And It took me a few years to realise it wasn't. It was probably at the back end of my career when I got a little bit more disciplined and applied myself a little bit better. I wish I'd done that a little bit earlier, really. But Rick was just a phenomenal talent. But yeah, I used to watch Rick in the early days, and I thought that was the norm. I thought that was the way to do things.
So talent really can be a bit of an enemy of a fighter as well as an asset, because it might stop you working as hard as you need to or being as disciplined.
Well, I always say, Danny, it's funny how, things pan out. You often get guys with a lot of talent seem to lack a little bit of dedication. They don't quite have to work as hard as the other guys. And then you can get guys who aren't the most talented who really work hard and make up for it in that way. But the guys that have the two, the dedication and the talent, they're the guys that hit the jackpot, aren't they?
And that's going to be Campbell, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. Well, again, he's very much like his dad. He's a laugh a minute. He's very, very simple. The Clone Ranger, I call him. But no, I'm constantly on at Campbell. I'm drilling him in how he needs to dedicate himself and be disciplined to the sport. And mate, so far so good. He's got a great work ethic, mate. And we live in a little village, mate. We all live, within a stone throw distance. It's one of them things where everyone knows each other's business. So if Campbell's up to no good, mate, I know in double quick time and straight on the bone to him. But no, Campbell's been great so far. Great work ethic, and I think he's gonna show big improvements fight by fight.
Before I let you go, just tell us a little bit about the other two fighters you're working with at the moment and what might be coming up for them.
Yeah, Damien Chambers just unfortunately lost to Alan Babbage. It was one of those where, we were in the COVID times. He'd not fought for a couple of years. He was cruiserweight, Central Area cruiserweight champion, a good fighter. And it was one of those where just sometimes it's worth rolling the dice. There was a lot to gain for him and very little to lose, really. And it didn't pan out, but he's still Central Area cruiserweight champion. Even though Babbage, in my eyes, is a cruiserweight, he's certainly a handful. So there's certainly some good fights for Damien at cruiserweight. And I've also got Luke Evans, who's 10 out of 10. Again, spent some time on the sidelines due to injury, but quite a stop-start career. But Luke's a super talented fighter. And again, he's fighting in September. And even though he's only young, it's now or never for Luke. Everyone around this area locally knows the ability he's got and the talent he's got, and now's the time he needs to use it.
And so I'm guessing with someone like Luke, the past year or two has been quite difficult with the pandemic and getting him on shows. Not been as many shows anywhere near in the last couple of years, but now people are starting to come back, so that must be quite, encouraging.
Absolutely, and sometimes a time away from the sport can make you realise how much you want it. And I've said that to Luke, that hopefully the couple of years where he's been away from the sport makes him realise now how much he wants it. And he's a super talented individual. If he gets that mindset right and pushes on, I expect good things from Luke. I really do. I think one of the people he might surprise is himself, because he's a really talented lad. If he can get this right, he's going to go a long way. One to keep an eye out on, definitely.
Brilliant. Mate, I really appreciate it. It's been great to catch up with you. Really, really interesting stuff as well.
Mate, anytime, you know that, Danny.
I appreciate it. And very best of luck for Saturday night. I hope it all goes well.
Thank you, mate. Take care.